This is MTG Burgeoning, and in this video we will showcase the contents of Green Color Support Pack number 2 of our Jumpstart Commander Cube. If you haven't been following along or are new to the channel, look in the description of this video for links to the primer video for this series, its playlist, as well as a list of the cards featured in this video. As previously showcased during the primer video for this series, these are the types of cards you can expect to see in every color support pack. Now, with the prologue coming to an end, let's start spotlighting some green support cards, beginning with 3 beautiful full art basic forests. That's how we're going to kick things off. Surprise, surprise, surprise. And on the tail end of those 3 forests, we have 3 snow-covered forests as well. And all of my mathematicians out there in the MTG Burgeoning community will let us know immediately that that's going to give us 6 basic lands to start off our pack. Our next card is going to be our Thriving Land, which, of course, since this is a green support pack, that card is going to be Thriving Grove. It enters the battlefield tapped, and when it does, we choose a color other than green. We can tap this land to add 1 green mana or 1 mana of the chosen color to our mana pool. Our next card up is our second consecutive non-basic land, and it's the first and only utility land in this pack, and that is Tranquil Thicket. It enters the battlefield tapped, it taps for a green mana, or we can pay 1 green mana and discard this card from our hand to draw a card through this land's cycling ability. Our next card is going to be our MDFC for this pack. That is our Modal Double Face card. It's a spell on the front and a land on the back. And for this green color support pack number 2, that card is Bridgeworks Battle, a sorcery for 2 and 1 green mana. Target creature we control gets +2/+2 till end of turn. It fights up to 1 target creature we don't control. So we get to give our creature a nice little padded boost to its power and toughness, hopefully to ensure that the creature we want it to fight with ends up dying and our creature remains on the battlefield. If we're not really looking to get into any fights with any creatures, then we could easily opt to play this card out for the backside as Tango Span Bridgeworks, a land that enters the battlefield. We may pay 3 life, but if we don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. And of course, we can tap it to add a green mana to our mana pool. Since it does have a land on the backside of the card, it is a land option. We're going to slap that bad boy right up there with our other lands. That will bring us to the Planeswalker in our pack. And in this pack, it's going to be Garruk Unleashed. This version of Garruk comes into play with 4 loyalty counters for 2 and 2 green mana, which is a fantastic rate on mana invested per loyalty counter at a ratio of 1:1. We can add a loyalty counter to this version of Garruk and have up to 1 target creature get +3/+3 and gain trample until end of turn. That is the mini overrun, folks. +3/+3 and trample to 1 creature. Garruk is going to do that and add 1 loyalty to his count. We can take 2 loyalty counters off of Garruk Unleashed, and if we do, we create a 3/3 green beast creature token. Then if an opponent controls more creatures than we do, we put a loyalty counter on to Garruk. So if one of our opponents has more creatures than we do when we activate this ability, we're going to end up only having to lose 1 total loyalty counter because the -2/+1 will leave us with a -1 cost. And lastly, if we're fortunate enough to have Garruk on our side of the battlefield long enough in order to accrue a number of loyalty counters needed to take at least 7 off, we do that, and when we do, we are going to get an emblem that reads, at the beginning of our end step, we may search our library for a creature card and put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle our library. Of all Planeswalker emblems that can be created from any of the Planeswalkers in this Jumpstart Commander Cube, this one may be the most powerful. Any creature from our library, right into play from an emblem. And keep in mind, folks, at the creation of this video at least, there are no ways to interact with emblems in Magic the Gathering. Once it hits the battlefield, it's there for as long as we are, and chances are, if we have this emblem, we should be hearing a round of good games soon after. All right, our next card is going to be our creature modifier. This is either going to be an aura or an equipment, and here in green color support pack number 2, it is an aura, and it is called Well Rested. For 1/1 green mana, we have an aura that enchants a creature, of course. An enchanted creature has, whenever this creature becomes untapped, we put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, then we gain 2 life and draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. If we can slap this bad boy onto any of our creatures that have activated abilities that require it to tap, we should easily reap the benefits of some peripheral life gain and that drawing card ability every time we get to our untap step. That's what we're really looking to do here, is the hope that we have a creature that can get us these abilities that way. If not, well, then we just have to take our luck in combat, slap this aura onto a creature that we know either has the evasion and can't be blocked, or send it into combat knowing that because of the combat math behind it, the creature should stay alive, because we need the creature to untap so that we can reap the benefits of the +1/+1 counters, the life gain, and that sweet, sweet card. So we want to send it into combat safely so that when we get back to our next turn, it can untap and we can get all of those benefits. Well rested, our opponents will not be if we get this aura onto one of our creatures and start taking advantage of that peripheral life gain, those amazing extra cards to draw, and let's not poo-poo those 2 +1/+1 counters. That just makes that creature even more formidable in combat. Our next card is our Color Strength spell, and as we were talking about earlier with Garruk, green is known for overrun. It's known for mana acceleration. Well, we have one of those 2 famous green themes here in Overwhelming Stampede. This sorcery for 3 and 2 green mana reads, until end of turn, creatures we control gain trample and get +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures we control. We can turn to this card as a win condition as long as our commander pack helps to support a creature-based theme. This might be tricky to do if we're running with a Spellslinger theme, where we may not have as many creatures as needed to make Overwhelming Stampede to be overwhelming. We want to look to that to close out the game and trample over all of our opponents, but we just got to make sure we've got the creature base to do so. All right, our next cards are going to be a bevy of removal spells. And so here in green, removal was an awfully tricky proposition. There just is not a lot of mass removal in green, particularly when it comes to getting rid of our opponent's creatures. And we understand why. It's green. It's not interested in trying to kill creatures with sorceries and instants. Well, maybe not multiple creatures at one time, of course. However, we were able to dance around a little bit with the removal and disruption spells here in green, and how we're going to do that is we're going to have 2 of the 4 spots dedicated to biting, and we'll explain that when the time comes. But our first spot removal spell is Bramble Crush. For 2 and 2 green mana at sorcery speed, we simply destroy target non-creature permanent. See, we can't even destroy target permanent. It's 2 and 2 green to destroy a target non-creature permanent. Well, we'll take that in green, particularly knowing that we can light up anything that we want as long as it isn't a creature. Our next spell is Tribute to the Wild. Instant speed for 1 and 1 green mana. Each opponent sacrifices an artifact or an enchantment. I can envision many scenarios with this card in our opening hand, and our opponents go around the table starting to ramp up their board with maybe a Soul Ring, or maybe an Arcane Signet, or maybe a Felwar Stone, or something like that. And then it gets to our turn, and we cast this, and we watch all of those fabulous mana rocks go straight to the graveyard. I want to be a part of that world. I really do. All right, so our next couple of spells, as we were talking about earlier, through the aforementioned foreshadowing that MTG Burgeoning laid out there for you, we're going to include a couple of bite spells. Now in green, biting is not fighting. When we fight in green, one creature is going to fight the other. We're not looking to do that here. So that's what Bridgeworks Battle does. We want to ensure that the creature that we want to die has no business dealing any damage to our creature. That always runs the risk when we're fighting, but here we're going to be biting. So that's going to mean, for example, in Tandem Takedown, an instant for 1 and 2 green mana, up to 2 target creatures we control each get +1/+0 until end of turn. They each deal damage equal to their power to another target creature, planeswalker, or battle. So in this instance, we get to bite the other creature and they don't get to bite back. So apparently, if there aren't 2 bites, then there is no fight. We would rather do that. Let's bite them creatures, ensuring that our creatures remain safe, and we bid au revoir to the creature who's going to hit the graveyard. Our next bite spell and our last removal spell of this color support pack gives us a couple of options. It is Kamal's Will. Instant speed for 3 and 1 green mana. We can choose one of the following 2 modes, but if we control a commander as we cast a spell, we can choose both of them. So our first option is, until end of turn, any number of target lands we control become 1/1 elemental creatures with vigilance, indestructible, and haste, and they're still lands. We could reconcile that being a potential win condition, particularly if we have enough lands in play to send them into combat, and especially if any of the aforementioned mana rocks are used to help cast the spell, which helps to free up those lands to be 1/1 creatures that can get sent into combat. Option number 2 of this spell is we choose target creature we don't control, and then each creature we control deals damage equal to its power to that creature. So here we have a way in which to bite another creature, and if we also have a commander on our side of the battlefield, we can choose both of these options, which allows us to get rid of which should easily allow us to get rid of any one creature on our opponent's sides of the battlefield, and then hopefully send a bunch of indestructible, vigilant, and hasty lands into combat, hopefully to secure a win. All right, our next card slot is our hate card or our defense card. And here in green color support pack number 2, that card is Sereth the Viper's Fang, a 3/4 legendary human warlock for 2 and 2 green mana. Other tapped creatures we control have Death Touch, and other untapped creatures we control have Hexproof. So if we have creatures that we're sending into combat, as long as they don't have Vigilance, they're going to be tapped, and Sereth here is going to give them Death Touch. That will cause headaches for our opponents, because generally they may want to just block down those creatures and make sure that they die, but giving them Death Touch means that we're taking those creatures to the graveyard with us. That will cause our opponents all kinds of fits, as much as having our untapped creatures have hexproof. That means that there will be no spot removing our creatures from the battlefield as long as they're not turned sideways. And as an additional bonus here, we can pay 1 generic mana and tap Sereth to untap another target creature or land we control. More often than not, we're probably going to untap the creature as a way in which to have any potential spot removal or ability spell fizzle, because once the creature is untapped, it has hexproof, and our opponent's ability or their spot removal spell will just go bye-bye. All right, our next card is our Resource Advancement card, and here we're looking for card advantage, mana acceleration, ways in which to enhance our side of the battlefield, and in this color support pack, we have that here in 6. A 2/4 Treefolk with Reach for 2 and 1 green mana. Whenever 6 attacks, we mill 3 cards, and we may put a land card from among them into our hand. So that is a way in which to ensure that we do not miss a land drop. Yes, we might be missing a couple of the other cards that go to our graveyard, but hey, hitting our land drop every turn is a way in which to count on outproducing, out-resourcing, and outmaneuvering our opponents at the commander table. And lastly, as long as it's our turn, non-land permanent cards in our graveyard have Retrace. So this is a way in which 6 rewards us for our faith in having us mill those 3 cards whenever he attacks. For Retrace, we may cast permanent cards from our graveyard through the retrace mechanic by discarding a land card in addition to paying the other in addition to paying the other costs. So that land that is returned to our hand by 6's attack trigger, we can just hang on to that, use that as the retrace cost, and cast one of those permanent cards that went into the graveyard, potentially from 6's own self-mill ability, and that way we can ensure that if there's something in our graveyard that was put there haphazardly due to the attack trigger of this Treefolk, that we have the ability to get it onto our side of the battlefield by casting it for its retrace cost. Next up is our combat enhancement card, and here we have Averbuck Caretaker, a 4/4 human werewolf with hexproof for 4 and 2 green mana. At the beginning of combat on our turn, we put 2 +1/+1 counters on another target creature we control. The Avabruck Caretaker here has the Daybound mechanic, so that means that if a player casts no spells during their own turn, it becomes night next turn, and when it becomes night, we transform the Caretaker into the Hollowhenge Huntmaster, a 6/6 hexproof werewolf that gives other permanents we control hexproof as well. And at the beginning of combat on our turn, we put 2 +1/+1 counters on each creature we control. That ability to have all of our permanents have hexproof and every creature getting two +1/+1 counters at the beginning of combat, those are abilities that are powerful and strong enough for us to choose to not even cast any spells during our own turn, just so that we can transform Avabruck Caretaker. All right, MTG BC, we are down to the last card of the support pack. And of course, if you've been following along with this series, you know it's going to be our iconic creature type. And our iconic creature type in green is Worm. And here we have the Carnage Worm, a 6/6 worm with trample for 6 and 1 green mana, and it has the Bloodthirst 3 mechanic. So that means if an opponent was dealt damage this turn, this creature enters the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters. So whether or not we can do some form of direct damage to our opponent during our first main phase, and then cast this bad boy during combat, or we deal some combat damage during our own combat, and then we cast Carnage Worm during our second main phase. Either or, we want to make sure we take advantage of that Bloodthirst ability so that we can put a 9/9 Trampler into play for just 6 and 1 green mana. All right, there you have it, MTG Burgeoning Community. We have showcases the contents of Green Color Support Pack number 2 of our Jumpstart Commander Cube. I cannot wait to read your comments about these cards in the comment section below. This is MTG Burgeoning, your channel for all things Magic.